Yes.
Hi everyone, this is Didi.
And I am Fred. And this is our 36-foot floating home Sunshine.
Join us as we go sailing.
Good morning, everyone. It's about 7:30 a.m. ship's time on the 7th of June, 2023. Last night marked the beginning, or the end of, I should say, our third week on this passage. And of course, in the early hours of the morning, to celebrate the beginning of the fourth week, we had the obligatory 2:30 in the morning squall. And it was a serious squall. It wasn't an unserious squall. The wind was easterly, which is somewhat advantageous. The weather helm drove the boat probably at about 200 degrees, maybe 190 degrees, south, which was okay because I wanted to get more south. We're at 3 degrees, 30-something minutes south latitude now. Where we're going, Victoria is about 445, 447, something like that. Anyway, the wind was howling in the rigging, and because we were getting, the bow was being pushed, the stern was being pushed, even with no mainsail at all up into the waves, we were unfortunately taking a couple of splooshes over the portside deck, which of course managed to I guess the ocean parts of it were tired of floating out there and wanted a free ride somewhere, so a couple of those wave tops managed to sploosh here in the cockpit, getting poor Miss Didi, who was on watch at the time, a nice face full and hair full of salt water, as well as a couple of the cushions that we had out here in the cockpit to protect our poor tender bones and butts from sitting on the hard fiberglass all the time. Now you think, well, 3 weeks, that's not bad. I've done a number of 3-week passages. But remember, folks, we haven't touched land since we left Gale in Sri Lanka on the 19th of April. It's now the 7th of June. Granted, we spent a week in Cochin aboard the boat, anchored, but we never went ashore anywhere. So effectively, we've been on the boat full time since the 19th of April, without a respite or a break, a land break of any kind, if you will. And of course, the humanitarians there in Cochin, those wonderful Indian people, kind of ignored the little creature comfort things. Like, I don't know about you people, but, we got a fair amount of storage on board. But when's the last time you went for 5-6 weeks without doing laundry? Now, I'm just a poor cruising guy. I don't have a water maker, so we're conserving water to make sure we have enough to last. Certainly no extra for doing laundry. So we're starting not only running out of foodstuffs, water's still okay, but clothes, we're digging clothes out of a laundry pile that don't stink too bad to re-wear because they're dry, and trying to conserve the clothes that are still clean and uninfested with salt water and body stink for our arrival. So as of this morning, we did that one milestone, passed 60 degrees east longitude, reset the clocks to GMT plus 4. And we've also crossed 3 degrees south, actually down about 340 south, something like that. And started our 4th week on this passage. We're about 250 miles from Victoria, and it's Wednesday morning. And at the speed we've been able to maintain on average, it looks like, unless conditions change, we're going to be very hard pressed to get into Victoria before dark on Friday night. Now that's a bit unsettling, because I'm not real keen on going into any kind of a harbor situation in the dark. And there are some shallows and reefs scattered around hither and yon on the approach to get into the harbor. And then, of course, I'm not sure, I have to go back and check my notes, that if or not the Seychelles officials want to say, oh, well, you arrived Friday night after check-in time, and now you want to check in on Saturday. We have to charge you overtime fees for doing that. Something I'd really rather avoid. I mean, it's like, hey guys, if I had my choice, I'd have been here a week ago. Hell, I'd have been here weeks ago on my original departure for Cali. So I'll have to check my notes and make sure about that. Anyway, the wind is blowing pretty nice still, probably up around 15 knots, which it has done most of the time. We've run into a few wind holes that didn't last too long, usually after a squall line, of which we still get between 3 and 6 a day passing over us. Usually they don't amount to much. That one last night, of course, was quite the exception, and it waited till the appropriate time, essentially 3 o'clock in the morning. When I cross the South Pacific, which I've done now 3 times, or the Pacific, I should say, not all of them in the South, the southeast trade winds there in the eastern part of the Pacific generally don't present you with 3 or 4 squalls every day. You might get a squall once in a while, but nothing like we've been getting here in the South Indian Ocean. As I look out to the southeast, see big clouds building up and what looks like squall lines generating themselves, of course, all headed this way eventually. So that's been rather annoying, mostly because of the calm after the little wind line passes. The occasional rains I don't mind too much because it does wash all the salt away. Anyway, Miss Needy is really beaten from last night. She finds it hard to relax enough to get into a deep sleep. So I always try to give her enough time to get that 3 or 4 hour chunk of sleep in. I think, from what I've read, psychologically and physiologically, you need to do that at least once a day. 3 to 4 hours of deep sleep to let your mind reset. I try to do it myself, but I'm not always successful. But I can tell the fatigue level builds if I go 3 or 4 days without achieving that state. So I try to avoid that. It doesn't matter whether you sleep in the daytime, nighttime, whenever you can. If you can get a break, take a solid 3 to 4 hours of sleep. It will help a lot, I think. Of course, I'm not a medical professional, so what do I know, right? Anyway, here we are, Wednesday morning, on the way to the Seychelles. Hopefully, we'll get there before dark on Friday and not have to play overtime games with the officials. Might have to wait till Saturday morning to check in, which is fine, because about the only thing we can do is get in the harbor, maybe drop the hook, and have a huge sigh of relief at finally having completed this passage. Bye for now.